over to you for a short while.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I don't know if you want to, oh, you are recording. Okay,
Yep.
good. Just in case it's helpful for anyone else. Awesome. Cool. I'm so excited to walk through just some things that we've really been observing lately in the realm of COVID and everything going on. You know, it's really difficult for businesses everywhere to let current and prospective customers know what they're still currently offering, what that looks like, and so I just put together some tips that I hope you find useful. Let me pull them up here. And so all of the slides will be at this link if you want to grab those. Let me see if I can, here we go. All right, you guys see that okay?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm using Minnesota Nice as our example here because this is very, very common and something we're seeing all over in the local space is when someone does a search for your business, it is very common that Google has automatically appended this warning that you see here. And so this is sort of the first thing I want to, let's see. This warning is probably the biggest worrisome thing for customers and for businesses, because as a customer searching for your business, it looks as though you might still be closed during COVID or whatever that might look like. And so all it takes to have this removed is simply adding special hours to your Google My Business profile. And so I think this is one of the most underrated things that I hope everyone, you know, starts to become aware of and can sort of correct and get that warning removed. Aside from that really kind of glaring big warning sign, it's good just to make sure all of your business information is correct. So if someone is doing a search for you or for your products or services, that when you show up in the local pack, you know, is it the correct information? Is it the right address? Are you still, you know, is this website still current? All of those little things make a really, really big difference. And also filling it out to the best of your ability gives you leverage within Google. Google obviously loves themselves and they're constantly adding new things to these business listings. And so if you can kind of remind yourself to go in and check what's being updated, you know, now there's no touch delivery options. They're currently experimenting and adding things. And so the more you can fill out this profile, the better it will be for your business and for your visibility online. So they also recently came out with COVID-19 posts, and these are really interesting because they show up within organic search results and they show up really high if someone is searching for you specifically for your business. And so again, this is within the Google My Business listing. Let me actually see if I can show you. So if you were to search for Minnesota Nice Cafe, you know, if they had a COVID post here, it would not only be showing up right up top here, but it would also be showing up in these in the organic area as well. And what's powerful about the COVID post is you can really start to explain in detail what you're doing about the current environment. What sort of no-touch delivery or takeout are you currently offering to customers, and making that as prevalent as possible to really let people know that you're still available and what precautions you're taking. In addition to regular COVID posts, there's the regular Gmb posts, which are really, really powerful. And these come in a couple different varieties. So you've got what's new, events, offering, and products. And where these would show up, these are great. They're big photos, and they would show up down here as if it was like a giant like blog post within your listing. And they've been around for a while. They don't last quite as long as the COVID posts, but they also allow you to use these different CTAs. So you can do book, you can have people book online, order online, buy, learn more, sign up, get offer, call now. Businesses are seeing a lot of success leveraging those. And those specifically allow you to use the images. The new COVID posts are text only, but again, they're going to last a bit longer and be higher up in terms of visibility. This is my favorite. Some people have gotten really clever with different types of posts because, like I mentioned before, there's things like you can put products within a post and it takes up this large amount of real estate. Well, when COVID hit, different businesses got savvy with this and they were using that as things like curbside, shop online. They were leveraging these large product postings to further inform potential customers what it was that they were offering in terms of service. So I thought that was kind of a really great example of, you know, Google's allowing this for now, but you can absolutely leverage the product post for services that you offer. And you get, again, this kind of huge real estate within Google search results that you might not otherwise have without them. So kind of a fun idea that seems to be working really well for different businesses. Another great thing that we're seeing is, so when you're looking at, you know, you do a search for a specific business, or again, if these pop up even service related, and you see questions and answers. And so a great way to, you know, not only take advantage of answering any current questions you have on your listing, but seed it with the most commonly asked questions about your business. We have seen this solve lots of, you know, phone calls and kind of around the clock questions for various businesses. And it also helps explain common services or questions to Google and gives this visibility to what it is that you do, what it is that you offer. So really seeding this FAQ area with, you know, what is your most frequently asked questions? And business owners, I mean, you know more than anyone what those are. So you can absolutely log in under a different account or have a friend log in under a different account and ask those questions for you to answer here. I think the answering of reviews in a timely manner is so important. There have been a lot of recent studies around reviews, and that 97% of people who read reviews read the review responses. And I think it's one of the most sort of underrated PR opportunities for businesses today to really just take advantage of the opportunity to really respond to each and every review. Some businesses do this really well, and some businesses just forget about it, which is totally understandable too, but it's really good to come in and at least the most recent ones to show prospective customers that A, that you care, and that B, that you would respond to them in a timely manner. Just kind of a good thing to remember as well. I threw in a bunch of other tips. People are leveraging text messaging within Google My Business, which has gone way up into the right since COVID hit because it's just easier for customers to send a text. So if that's available within your listing, you can activate that. Now would be a great time to take new photos, you know, especially I've been thinking a lot about all these restaurants that are doing takeout and still making food and still doing stuff. You can absolutely be using that time to take fresh, better photos, take advantage of menu listings within Google My Business, take photos of product. And again, there's all sorts of things within Google My Business to really take advantage of. Spying on competitive reviews, I think, is now more important than ever, just because the climate has changed so much. And so it's this whole notion of you really want to meet your customers where they are. And in order to know how any of those things have shifted, it's interesting to tap into competitive, you know, reviews and responses to have a pulse on what are the new concerns, what are the new, you know, needs of prospective customers. There's also been lots of really cool case studies about local businesses partnering together to kind of leverage each other's services. There's a cool story in the UK about a fresh fruit delivery company that was kind of struggling, and they partnered up with a local bakery. And so anytime anyone ordered from one or the other, they got a free small basket of the other product, and it kind of helped amplify, oh yeah, this company is still providing this sort of service, and they both ended up doing very well. So I think it's just finding little opportunities like that as well to just remind customers that you're still around, you know, doing little things, tapping into previous and current customers helps too. Just keep skipping. Focusing on what you do best. I think this has been really interesting in terms of COVID, and the companies that have excelled within this current environment have really pivoted around what they do best, and sort of used that as leverage to continue growing around these different challenges. And then to also just continue to provide updated and important information on your website. So any change to business hours, no touch delivery, you know, shipping options, or what, you know, what's currently available there. And even if you're not currently selling things on your website, I do think it's important to catalog the products that you are still offering, as well as services, right? And then I threw in make your content scannable, because our attention spans just continue to dwindle, and allowing customers to just, whether it be on their phone or a tablet, to quickly get a quick sense of what it is that you offer, and the different things that, you know, that set you apart from other people is really good. This was super interesting. This came out of a local Gather Up conference. They're both incredible kind of local SEO, local marketing groups to follow. And one of their speakers had, you know, did this study where 88% of buyers are influenced by reviews, and the likelihood of a purchase increases when you actually have a 4.2 to a 4.5 review than a perfect 5.0. People are skeptical of the perfect 5-star reviews. And so to also kind of look at your reviews, or any mediocre or negative reviews, not necessarily as a terrible thing, but as a place of opportunity to sort of respond and to show that you're a real business. So I thought that was kind of fun. There's a full crisis adaptation checklist that my team and I at Moz put together at this bit.ly link that covers a bunch of these things and more. And then the last thing is, you know, I know this is a lot, and I know the Google My Business stuff can be so easy to forget about. I am equally as guilty of completely forgetting about that kind of stuff. And what I've found to be really useful is just setting reminders in my calendar to check into the Google My Business and look for any new features, make sure things are up to date, kind of doing that due diligence on a semi-regular cadence should be helpful. But that is sort of my local crisis COVID 101 overview, but really happy to dive into any questions and things beyond that.
I don't know if this is, it's not totally COVID related, but it's what you're talking about right now with reviews. How do you get rid of a really negative review?
That can be tough. That can be really tough. I have seen people go to court over negative Yelp reviews. Yeah, they can be almost impossible to get actually removed. I think the best thing to do is to provide a really sound response into why it maybe doesn't make sense, or yeah, I wish I had more information on that for you.
You have to have, this is for a business that we're helping that I just found like a horrible review that could hurt their business a lot. So do you have to have the person that made the review take it down?
Yes.
In most cases, so doing something, reaching out to them. Okay.
Yeah, is it on Google or what platform?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you would need the reviewer to remove, or they can also edit. Yeah, I wish I had more info.
Okay, no, That's what I was thinking. I just didn't know if there was something else.
Yeah,
Mainly on Amazon too. I've heard of people having difficulty getting reviews on Amazon taken down.
Yeah, I've also heard that there's some added trust when you have some not so favorable reviews in there, just because I mean Amazon really leans towards filling those
True.
reviews full with 5 stars that you lose with that trust or authority.
Mm-hmm.
And so having that transparency can help. And I know from like the client side, they're going to get extremely hung up on the one bad review when they have to keep in mind 100%, almost 100% of your people had a bad experience will want to share that bad review, but very seldomly do people want to share that good experience. And I think when people go into that mindset, when they read reviews, they are somewhat aware of that. So they do take that in consideration too.
such a good point. Such a good point now. Yeah.
I really liked what you were showing in the Google My Business, where you can post those different things under the products, where you said people are getting really creative with that. I guess
Yeah.
I've never looked into all the information you can fill in there, and that would really help out a lot of people.
I think so too. I was so excited to see that sort of clever hack. And it makes sense, because you get so much visibility with the product posts, to really leverage that for these service type businesses that don't currently have that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did they customize those photos themselves then as well?
Yeah, exactly. So they wanted to make it super clear that they've got, curbside pickup, shop online, remote design. We've seen plumbers do some really interesting things, like they'll list products as virtual estimates, things like that. So yeah, people are creating just the very simple visual, putting text over it, and then providing some information underneath.
I also haven't utilized the Q&A part that you mentioned. So
Yeah.
I'll have to look into that too.
Yeah, and it's, when you're working with businesses too, I mean, we ran into this at Pride. It's so important to just, if it's a new business or a business that hasn't done much online marketing, to make sure that they own the Google My Business listing. Because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Alex, you're on the call, if you remember, we worked with a pizza company in Vail that had another pizza company claim their listing and change their phone number to the other pizza place. And so everyone that called delivery was calling the competitor, and they had no idea. So it's so important just to make sure you have ownership over that, and that you're checking to make sure that everything's still accurate.
Yeah, there's so many businesses that have never even heard of it, and they don't do anything with it.
Right.
Yeah, and when it comes to restaurant photos, this is a big pet peeve of mine, is you're about a 10-minute YouTube video away from taking much better photos than what you probably have on there. And so if those individuals just take the time, or somebody else to educate how to take these photos or lighting or stuff like that, it can definitely amplify just that production value a little bit. And then another one is, another pet peeve is I hate those generic stock photos that a lot of people purchase. And so if anyone here ever uses unsplash.com, if you've ever been there, it's like royalty free, but they have really great high quality. It doesn't have that, very structured business fake stock photo look and feel. And so if anyone's ever on the creative side and doesn't know about Unsplash, that's a favorite kind of website of mine.
That's a really good one. Isn't Pexels too another good one?
Yeah, I don't know if I use that one. I use Flat Icon for any, when I do a lot of icon research or need any sort of those small, tiny creatives if I don't want to spend a lot of time in there. So Flat Icon for any sort of basic graphic, and then Unsplash. I mean, I hardly live outside of Unsplash unless I know I'm going to pay for something.
Yeah, that's good to know. And I think you're so spot on with the food menu photos. We eat with our eyes first, and just, even hiring someone for a day or being able to set up just some lighting before either serving or sending out some food would be huge.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get pretty detailed now with the menu items on Google My Business if you're a restaurant. not only the photos of different menu items, but the price, and you can put like nutritional information and ingredients, and it gets really specific there too, which is interesting.
So there's a section that actually says add your menu.
Yep, if you choose that you are a restaurant, so if we were just to do, let's see. So let's see. So it looks like they haven't used it, but they've got the dine-in, takeout, delivery. But some people really leverage the, Bobby's got photos, but there's really great menu options that are available. I'll have to find a better example. Al, do you know of any? I know there's in Seattle, but that won't bring it up for me. These popular times are so fascinating too. I mean, and they continue to add new and interesting things. I know multiple different business options now have the option to do, like senior hours. Curbside pickup was added. Wow. Here's a COVID update example. So it's delivery only tonight under the curfew. That was 5 days ago, but that's, it would show up here. So if someone, specifically, and again, just adding those special hours would get rid of this warning. Yeah.
Cool. Well, hopefully we can pass this recording on to some of our local restaurants to help them out.
I hope so.
Britt, do you have any other updates or expected changes from Google?
Well, yeah, actually. So as far as like local level goes, they also just added all of these new features, which have been kind of interesting. We know that, they crawl mobile first now, in addition to this. So if your website isn't mobile friendly, or if your mobile website isn't currently serving all of the same links and resources as your desktop site, that should be addressed sooner rather than later, just so that Google's able to crawl your site on the mobile version just as similarly as they would the desktop. Can result in duplicate content errors and confusion around how they index the content of your site to serve to customers. They're doing these new support links. So if you have additional, if you have a GoFundMe or a gift card website or page that you want to offer, you can do a lot of that as well. They're also offering this online class and virtual appointment options right within Google My Business. And, to be honest, unfortunately, what this is ultimately doing is it's becoming the interface of businesses, right? It's making websites more and more unnecessary at a level of people being able to find all your information, know your products, do all of these things. I still think having a website is going to be incredibly valuable for different reasons. But as long as they continue to support and offer different things like this, I think it's best to sort of take advantage of some of that and be able to get to customers right away. They've got secondary hours information.
So you're saying with this, having your Google My Business like fully filled out as much as you can, that's going to really help you show up in searches instead of waiting for your site to be indexed.
Yes, instead of putting people through another hoop to jump through to get to your information, it will all be served here anyways. And unfortunately, Google is becoming the transaction layer of the internet, right? Most of these sorts of searches and exploration happens within a Google SERP. They house all of the world's information. They know what people searching for marketing services most frequently want or go to or explore. And so even paying a really close eye as to what shows up in search results for the keywords that you care about. Is it very visual? Are there lots of videos? Is it, local business listings? Is it informational, right? Are there the featured snippets, the people also ask boxes? Just keeping a keen eye on what is the underlying intent behind the different searches that people are doing that you could fulfill better. And so having kind of that understanding and that eye to see, if people searching for picture canvas don't typically want art canvases, they want prints on canvas. I mean, even like silly little nuanced things like that, you start to identify what you can kind of tweak and pivot on your website and local business listings if that's applicable to show up higher, and to also kind of just spoon feed Google what it is that you do, what it is that you serve, your offerings. Like Alex had mentioned earlier, having those photos, kind of fulfilling all those different intent types can do really, really well. But I do think websites will continue to be important too, especially because the age-old thing of link building. Links continue to be super valuable to websites. They are the credibility factor of the internet, a lot like real life. And so Google crawls all of the web. The more links you have unrelated to each other pointing to your site, the more authoritative you appear. And so one of my favorite things in link building is you should link build as if Google's going to disappear tomorrow. So you should be thinking about links about, like the Launchpad website or Chamber of Commerce or whatever those websites might look like, that if Google were to disappear, where could you get quality traffic? What websites would continue to send you and your business qualified leads, interested visitors? And so really tapping into those other sources of traffic and information are extremely valuable to a website and a business overall.
Yeah, I think link building is the door-to-door salesman of the internet. Trying to get, I know personally, being more like Minnesota nice introverted, I'll never get an internal link, and so I think that's kind of a missed opportunity too, is sometimes we think we're these digital marketing experts, but it takes a specific person to do some of these tasks. And that's where that business side of things, being that savvy or relationship building, whatever it may be. That link building side, I think I'm good at digital marketing. I suck at link building. And I think that goes for a lot of marketers. But it is a skill set you can definitely learn and teach. So if you do have that sales savviness, I mean, it might be some low-hanging fruit depending on the person's personality.
I would challenge you a bit on that, Alex, just because I think it doesn't necessarily have to be that business, like slimy selling perspective. Why couldn't you tap into me as a resource at Moz, or your friends that work in online and have websites that are relevant to something you're working on? You could easily ask those of us for a relevant link to something that you're working on. And I know myself and dozens and dozens and dozens of other people in my field, we have networks like that we tap into, and we help each other out. And it's just kind of an all-around feel-good situation. And I think locally, I believe those opportunities are already available for individuals. Al, do you see that working?
At a local level, I'll definitely give you that one. I think sometimes if you try to extend yourself, I mean, there's a lot of closed doors, and I know personally I've struggled with it at that point. And I mean, if you don't have those sort of connections, you definitely have to cut your teeth on that side of things. But especially from like a maybe smaller town local level, there are those relationships, they are your neighbors and that sort of thing. So yeah, I think there's definitely a gray area for sure.
That's a good point.
Is something like guest blogging, would that be considered link building, or is that something different?
I was
That's a
just going to
great-
talk about that, Emily.
That's a really great question. So traditionally, it's absolutely been considered link building, and you could even consider it today, but Google has come forward and said that they will not give as much weight to a link that is from a guest post as they would just a regular post. And so a lot of people have put less effort into guest posts the last several years, but I still see it as a great way for people to build credibility, get visibility, and certainly the link doesn't hurt. But it is likely becoming less valuable overall to a website. I know some. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's good to know that that's where the trend is going, because like I've done plenty of it. I'm a freelance writer on the side as well as doing Anger Grove, and it's a lot of work for very little return. So I would rather not do it if the writing is on the wall.
Totally. You're exactly right. It's so much work. Yeah, and I think resources could be better put towards kind of creating really great content on your website about what it is that you want to rank for, and kind of creating these what we call content silos or content Brian Dean calls it skyscraper now, where you've got your head key term, and then you've got all the supporting blog posts that link back up to the key term and really bolster you over time to rank for that term. But I think as far as link building, something that Alex and I absolutely found successful back, several years ago, and I've seen it work well today, is for local businesses we did work with, is we would create a preferred partners page. It was like local preferred partners, and it would list relevant businesses and services within their area that they either like knew the individuals working there or wanted to support, and then we would reach out to those businesses and encourage them to create a preferred partners or local partners page that would link back to our client. And we saw that work very well, because actually local network links are incredibly powerful in Google. There have been tons of studies around how authoritative that is, because in the scheme of things, the link graph of your business and your locale becomes so much stronger when Google sees local businesses supporting and referencing you. So I think there's still tons of value to that local level link building, whether it be a local preferred partners page or even sponsoring local events. Lots of local businesses do really great with sponsorship links too. Yeah, that's a good question though. I like that.
Those are interesting details. I suppose like if other businesses in your area are putting those links on there, it's like a review as well. And if they're putting a lot of value in reviews, because if you want to put their website on your website, then you have a high review of them. Or
exactly, it's that credibility factor, 1,000,000%. Yeah. Alex, do you have any other good tips or things that you've come across recently that help? I know even from like a conversion perspective, I think things that are accessible within people's reach is really interesting.
I was going to ask the same thing, Brittany. Just Alex, are there a couple of pro tips for CRO for small businesses?
Yeah, just easy access at information is going to be key. I mean, even just the way you structure your taxonomy is going to be incredibly, incredibly important. I don't know if Britt, sorry, I had to jump off for a bit, but if Britt went over type ahead in Google, but even if you know nothing about search engines, or sorry, keyword research, I mean, you can simply go to google.com and it's their machine. Google is just like a machine learning platform, basically, that's going to spit out, and what their type ahead is doing is it's predicting what you're going to type, basically based off, where's your IP, where you're at locally, what searches have you done before, all these things. And so even if you know nothing about keyword research, let's say you did have a Bemidji restaurant, you could just start typing in the word restaurant or Italian restaurant, and you never know what you're going to find. Maybe you'll instantly say gluten-free. And so, oh, hey, like gluten-free meals is going to be a really important keyword phrase that I want to target. But to me, type ahead for Google is the lowest hanging fruit to do the easiest keyword research because it's based off popularity already. And so even though you don't have the answer as far as how many individuals are looking for those terms, you could always look them up in their research tool. But at the same time, it's giving you those answers right away. And so to me, that's something I've always loved to do. If you're like double checking your taxonomy, you want to figure out, like, if you want to make it deeper, what sort of keywords do I want to base off of? What are individuals searching for? So that's a great low hanging fruit. And then from the conversion side of things, less is more. That would be like my general rule of thumb. I know I didn't give an intro right away, but I'm over at DigiKey in Thief River Falls. And for the longest time, they've been in this, consuming more and more and more and more. And now we're kind of reaching some international competition, and they're wondering why they're losing, and they're trying to add more. And from the A/B testing side, we are saying we need to drastically simplify a lot of this stuff. So a majority of our successful tests are around reducing the amount of options for users. So depending on the kind of stage of your website, I think less is more is the greatest rule of thumb, because not only do you sometimes provide too many options, but we also get really wordy trying to make sure the message is clear to the user, when instead, I know Britt mentioned before, I mean, our attention span is so minimal, we just fly through Instagram, thousands of photos a minute. The reality is, the message you got to get across has to be an elevator speech that you get out, in 1 to 2 sentences to catch their attention. So that would be my CRO takeaway is less is more, is finding more and more success as we kind of go into this, deeper internet age.
So it's saying less, and you're reducing stuff on, you mean like on their website, you're taking content out, or like extra pages, or?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the page, right? And so to me, it's almost like, if I find a lot of the times I can take 3 paragraphs, and if I look at it realistically, if I'm like, okay, I'm a customer and I want to know what I need to know, you can probably break it down into 3 sentences, 4 sentences. And the reason that's a big win is because these users don't want to spend time reading 3 paragraphs. I know it sounds minimal, because to us it's just 3 paragraphs, but at the same time, if you look at the time on page, they're spending 30 seconds there, maybe, if that. And so get to the point is huge. And then how are they absorbing that content? That's kind of the other side of the story, where can we be more visual? Do they want a video? How can I display this information in an easier way to digest? I know just having graphics that display products pays off big time rather than reading a paragraph.
So talking about content real quick, we're working on our new website at Evolve, and there's differences of opinions on what we should have on the case study pages. And I'm like a minimalist on everything, so I'm like, that's too much text. But other people want to have a lot of text saying, okay, problems, what are the results, and going through all these different things. And like a big section, I just look at the page and see text. And I feel like users or other businesses, clients, want to just look at like the work you can produce. So what is your opinion on that?
Yeah, with case studies, and you can do this with even like cooking recipes and stuff, anchor links. I really love those at the top of the page, almost like a too long didn't read sort of scenario as well, where here's your nitty gritty breakdown, here's a link to results, it's an index. And so intro, reasons, like all these things. So you kind of are giving, it's a user where they pick their story, where maybe they want to jump down straight to the results, which is where I would go every time too. And the cool part about that is if you set your analytics up correctly, it's a debate right now, but then you start providing measurable results, because you can see, how many people are clicking down to the bottom of that page, how many people are bouncing or exiting, are they spending a long time on it? And you can kind of, instead of it being a debate, you can be much more data driven. Mm-hmm. And so I'm a big fan of anchor linking, and I think that's another huge missed opportunity throughout our process, just because, I mean, we talk about Amazon a lot at DigiKey, where their experience is so personalized, so one-to-one. There's no one size fits all anymore. It's very customized. So allowing users options can have great rewards to kind of check, the boxes for those individuals on how they want to use your website.
I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, those are really good points, Al. I would also mention that Google is doing some of that, those jump links by themselves now. So whether it be you get a featured snippet like this, or we're even seeing it for people also ask, these might bring you to the specific area on a page automatically, which is interesting and good to keep in mind if you've really crafted content around an acquisition funnel of sorts. But another thing, Al, that you said that I love so much is, less is more. And I think in SEO and in content marketing, we always thought the exhaustive, long form was king, right? The more text, the better. And now we're seeing a complete shift, exactly what Alex said, where Google wants short summaries and they reward websites that omit needless words, have short, beautiful summaries just like this, because again, they want to provide searchers this information right away within search. So it's exactly that. It's kind of that shift back towards the too long didn't read, the summaries that do incredibly well. There's different websites and really competitive keywords that completely own the search result pages around weight loss, because they've got this great page about all this different information, but then at the bottom and at the top, they've got summaries that Google just grabs for things like this. So I think kind of crafting your content around those things helps a lot too.
Yeah, and we found if you have a definitive FAQ section, it's really great. And I think providing like a self-serve FAQ section is a very complicated, takes a lot of time, but a lot of times even at DigiKey, they'll just have links to like, oh, see our FAQs. And if you're on that, let's say it's the payment page of the checkout flow, it's so unstrategic to be like, here, look at our wide range or breadth of FAQs to browse, where specifically it's like, do you have payment type questions? Do you have these questions? And those anchor links, again, are really valuable to where if that FAQ section is already created, you can link specifically to that part of that page to get them the information that they're looking for, so nothing gets lost in translation.
That's really good. And then you can even take it a step further if you want and add, have you seen the FAQ schema markup, Al?
No, I haven't been, my SEO days are somewhat behind me.
Okay, so check this out. So I added this to this page, and you can add all of these silly things, but they show up in search and give you this real estate. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. That is really cool.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Fun too. Those are good tips, Al. Do we have any other fun questions?
Fun Friday SEO question.
Fun Friday SEO questions.
I have one. So back to the hours and putting your hours on Google. What would you recommend for a business like mine? So we do, it's just a website. And so we don't have a physical location, but people can pick up our products at our home, or we deliver, and there's like, alternative ways to meet. So we don't have strict business hours. We just confer with the customer. Like, when are you available? This works for me, this doesn't. What should I put in there?
That's a great question. And I recently was on a webinar and heard someone ask the exact same thing. And my friend Joy Hawkins had the best answer, which is set your business hours to whenever you are available to take phone calls. So whatever that looks like for just basic phone calls. And then you can
6:30 in the morning to like 10:30 at night. Does that look unreasonable? Like, will people like think it's fake?
I don't think so. And I think you can also I mean, there's also special hours, so you can clarify what those hours really mean. So it's not someone coming to your location, it's you're servicing them at, you know, the business phone number. Yeah, it's a really good question. I think also activating messaging might be interesting to see if customers reach out to you and engage in that form. But I think the business hours, clarifying by doing special business hours, and then again, just kind of having it set to whenever you feel comfortable taking phone calls.
Yeah, and we just wrapped up a A/B test. We were kind of running through this. How do we, now that people are working from home, how do we get them to not call in as much and reduce these touch points? And the test was a success where we're trying to push them to forms and chats and all those things. But the downside was, I don't know if you call it a downside, was that touch points increased dramatically. So it's almost telling us like there's a subset of users that just will always want to call no matter what the outlets are. But then if you start providing these additional outlets, our touch points are increasing because those individuals that didn't want to call before are now chatting or emailing or getting hold of us on social. So I think that if you want more kind of, I guess, contact points, including that breadth of touch points is rewarding too, just because people want to communicate with you through a bunch of different platforms nowadays.
So true.
To go along with Emily's question, you know, you want to show up in a local search, but say you don't want people actually coming to your location, but you have your address in there. What do you do?
Yeah, so Google does offer, you can set it as a service, and you can set your service location area. And you can set that radius however large or small that you feel comfortable with. So that's one way. And the last I checked, I don't believe they show your address when you're listed as a service. And so that no longer becomes an issue. It becomes, you know, you're really fielding people in through the website, the phone number, or a contact us form. Yeah, that's a good question.
Because I think I just set up a couple of different businesses just like, I don't know, yesterday for a new Google My Business listing. And one of them, it wouldn't be like a store because it's for a real estate developer. So I couldn't remember if, you know, I knew I had to put an address in there, but I didn't know if it's showing up like on the map. I'll have to look back at that.
Yeah, it was really interesting. We had a recent conversation at Moz about this too, and businesses have also seen people really engage with maps on their website that simply show what that looks like. For someone interested or visiting your business or your website to know if they might be a good fit or not, just immediately by a quick view of a map grid can be really helpful. There's one other thing I was gonna think of. I just blanked. Oh, it's been weird. We've also seen things like roofing companies do insanely well when they activate the text messaging option within Google My Business, because I think it feels like sort of that, you know, you don't really want to call, or it's this extra thing to fill out the whole form, and so just a quick text. They have gotten so many sales from text messaging. It's kind of wild. And this is going to sound super silly, but I've also seen local food trucks do very well by creating like an account on something like Tinder or like a location-based app where people in your area will see that you are located and serving in that area. I talked several food trucks in Denver into doing this, and a couple of them had like coupon like word codes that people would say and get like a free thing, and they'd get like free drinks if they showed up with a date. Like it was all this like funny things that you can kind of explore within the realm of what you serve in. So I also think tapping into other platforms can do really well. And that's why you know, in addition to these location things, refurbishing content to get audience from YouTube, refurbishing content to get Pinterest individual, SlideShare, answering questions on Quora. I think if you set just a little bit of time aside and experiment with these other platforms, you can kind of come back 2 months later, look at your analytics and say, oh, wow, SlideShare actually sent really qualified traffic to our site. We should continue to invest in that platform. Whereas something like Pinterest, we didn't see any traffic come through. Let's scrap that and focus our resources here, here, and here.
That makes sense.
Do you do text messaging through any real estate firms, do you know?
Who?
You asking Sarah?
Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
I just heard the real estate
Yeah.
comment, so I was just curious.
No, because I'm not looking for any real estate, so I'm not texting anybody, and nobody. I'm not really working with real estate firms, just like this construction developer. So I don't hear of anyone using it. I know real estate agents use texting all the time with their clients. So
Yeah, I know lead generation wise, I mean, in the past, the idea of texting if you're interested in a car or a house seems so foreign, and now it's just becoming almost like the new norm with new generations coming in and interest. So I was just curious.
yeah, I think we should use it a lot more. It sounds smart to do.
Yeah, we always texted our agent when we were looking for a house. She became like a friend. And so that's why I felt, you know, comfortable texting back and forth all the time.
I love that.
But that's a good takeaway. I'm going to go through like all my clients and be like, okay, who could utilize the texting part?
Well, we've used up basically the hour. We want to be somewhat respectful of time, but it's nice to have a small group where you can actually interact and get questions answered. And please feel free to keep the discussion going. Brittany's easy to track down. Alex is easy to track down. At Britney Muller on Twitter is probably the easiest way. Alex, I don't know what your preference is.
You can just do at Britney Muller at Twitter as well. And
Yeah,
it'll trickle down.
yeah, just go with that.
I mean, if you do have any UX questions, you're always welcome to email me, or maybe I'll just make sure to add like an email to that slide, Britt, if that helps.
Yeah, that would be good. That'd be really good.
Thank you for all your information.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for joining us. This was really fun. I hope it was helpful.
It was, thank you. Sorry I had to keep disappearing. My kids didn't stay napping like they
Your baby is so cute. So tiny.
You want to say hi? Say goodbye to everybody?
Oh my God. So tiny.
Well, she's got a dirty diaper right now, so that's what I get to go take care of. But thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you all. Have a great
Yeah, thanks all.
Bye.